When you're in the market for a new cell phone, but aren't ready for that 2-year commitment, make Yakety Yak Wireless your first stop. Our experienced sales staff will help you choose the phone that's best for you. We carry a vast array of basic and smartphones, and at Yakety Yak, you can try it before you buy it. Looking to save some money? We sell used and unlocked phones and provide the best in iPhone repair. Come into Yakety Yak Wireless for all your mobile phone needs.
Okay, today we're going to take apart an iPhone 5 and show you how to actually change the screen on it. Usually the screen would be broken, but in this case I don't want to break mine for this as I can't get parts yet. What we're going to use is a large suction cup. You need it because the screen's wedged. A pentalobe, a pry stick, a pair of tweezers, and a Phillips head screwdriver. The fix is actually fairly simple. The hardest part is getting the screen off of the phone. So we're going to start by making sure the phone actually works, and then we're going to turn it off. Obviously don't do any work on these phones when they're on. They do use pentalobe screws. Do not try and use a Phillips screwdriver. You will not be able to get the thing out of there. So we're going to go ahead here and take them out with a Phillips head screwdriver. And then we use our large suction cup. The small ones I think just pop off, and the screen's actually wedged in there. So this one, these large ones, which you can buy online, do a great job. And you're going to see me just kind of slowly pry the screen off and get it released. You want to release it from the bottom towards the top, because the top it has all the flex cables. I'm then going to use a blue pry stick to get the screen the rest of the way off. And it really is wedged down in there. Think of the iPhone 3G. It's kind of wedged in like that one was. Get a little grip on this thing, give it a little twist, and it should pop kind of right on out there. Okay, we're going to set it down, and you will see in the upper right hand corner where the 3 flex cables attach, and those flex cables are for the digitizer. They are for the screen, the LCD itself, as well as the camera, front microphone, and proximity sensor. There's an EMI shield with 3 screws holding down the phone right here. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to go ahead and take those off. When you go to disconnect this, I usually always use a plastic tool, so that way I'm not standing the chance of arcing any of the metal components. Okay, now we're going to use a pair of tweezers just to lift that off of there. Those are ESD safe tweezers, by the way. Okay, now there are 3 connectors. There's one right here to the right, which just pops off, flex cable. And then you've got your LCD and digitizer flex as well. That first one was for the camera, the proximity sensor, the front-facing microphone. Go ahead and get that up. And then the last one, lift that one up, and the screen lifts off. We'll move the base out of the way, and we're going to focus in on the screen. To get the screen off, first thing you have to do is remove the shield covering the earphone speaker. There's 2 screws. The earphone speaker is actually just held on with contact points. It's actually a much better design than any iPhone we've ever seen. Makes changing it very simple. Go ahead and lift that cover off. And now the speaker box actually just lifts off. That's the earphone speaker right there. You can see the 2 contact points. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the front-facing camera microphone proximity sensor assembly. This is actually held on with a little bit of adhesive by where the 2 gold contacts for the speaker box are. So what we're going to use is a variable rate heat gun. We're going to heat it to 150 degrees and just warm it up enough so that it lifts off without tearing that flex cable. Now that it's heated up, we can actually just carefully pull at it, and it just comes right off. And you'll notice the adhesive on it kind of lifted a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and tack that back down for when I put the phone back together. Okay. Now that you have that out of the way, you can see the 2 other flex cables right there. Okay, now we're going to come down to the home button. Unlike the other iPhones, this home button assembly is completely contained in the screen. So first you have to remove the cover shield on it. And the cover shield and the actual pickup for the home button are all attached there. And you can see those two gold contacts. Underneath those gold contacts is some adhesive. And so you see when we lift this off, it's still attached to that flex cable right there. So what we have to do again is get the heat gun and apply a little bit of heat, not a lot. All we want to do is just soften up that adhesive. And again, I've got it set at 150. If you don't have a variable rate heat gun, use a hairdryer on low. And then very gently just pull up, and you'll see that it just lifts right off of there. Okay. Now the home button itself is held on with some adhesive. It's a black rubber gasket, if you will, that holds it down. Again, I'm just using a little bit of heat just to make it so that I can push from the other side through with my finger. And you'll see it just lifts right up. You go nice and slow. You don't want to tear that rubber gasket. And the last thing to remove is actually the back plate. And the back plate has 6 screws that hold it on. There's 2 on each side, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. The LCD and digitizer are a bonded assembly in this. So if you're looking for spare parts and you see someone selling just the digitizer, that is worthless. Do not buy it. Make sure you look for an entire front assembly. Once we get this last screw off, the back plate just lifts off. It's not really held in with any real pressure. And that is the piece that you need to replace if you break your screen. It's the LCD digitizer assembly is what it's called. Now, putting it back together. Again, just go in reverse. Very, very simple. You got to line up the home button, and you want to kind of play with this to make sure you get it in there straight and it sits down. Push the adhesive back down. You got it in there nice and straight. And you're not folding the adhesive over anywhere. Since this phone is so much thinner than the last one, the tolerances are a lot tighter, so you got to be really careful that everything sits properly. Now the home button pickup, what I do here is I actually put in one of the screws on the left-hand side here. I'm going to go ahead and screw that down. And then I can use either tweezers or the spudger or your finger to line up the contacts. I'm using a screwdriver here just to make sure that everything sits down right where it's supposed to be. After it sits down, then you can screw in the right side screw. If those contacts are misaligned, your home button will not work. Don't overcrank on the screws, you just want them snug. Okay, now for the back plate assembly. Again, there's 6 screws, 2 on each side. And then 1 top and bottom. I'm going to go ahead and line this thing up there. Now that it's in, I'm going to go ahead and pop all the screws in. The top screw and bottom screw are different sizes than the side screws, so just be aware of that. Again, with the tolerance issue, if you put a screw that's too long in a place it's not supposed to go, you're going to pop it through to the other side and break the screen. Now, Yakety Yak Wireless repairs over 400 iPhones a month, and we expect to have parts for this phone in about 10 days. Today's the 24th of September, so I'm hoping by the first week of October I should be able to have them. You can look us up at yaketupdfw.com, and we actually do orders online, or you can come into our store at 3930 Glade Road in Colleyville, Texas. Okay, now the camera is going to go back in. And at the base of the camera, folded underneath there, is actually a front-facing microphone. And so what we need to do, there's a little bitty hole right there for that microphone to slot into. So you're actually going to pop it into that little hole, and it goes in there kind of snug. And that'll hold the cables in place. And then you go and put your camera in. Now, if you also look to the right of the camera, where those 2 gold contacts are, there's a little space that those contacts are supposed to go in. And so you got to kind of wedge it in there a little bit because it's going to cause the cable to bend. And you kind of lay it in there, and it's got the adhesive on the back, and so it should just stick right in its spot, just like that. Okay. Now that's ready to go. Next comes the speaker box. And if you do have any questions, you can reach us at 817-399-1000. Okay, here comes the speaker box. I'm going to go ahead and lay that in. Now this has a spot that it goes, but it's actually held in by the top shield. So it takes, you got to kind of place it there, but then you're going to secure it down with this top shield right here. And again, 2 screws, different size screws. There's a longer one that goes on the top and a shorter one on the bottom. Get it lined up. I put the lower right screw in first. And then you can make sure everything's snug and in there properly and put in the top screw, which as you can see is the longer one. Okay, after this, what we're going to do is we're actually going to attach it back into the phone. There's 3 flex cables to attach. Okay, the first 2 go down pretty easy. The third one, the sideways one, that's a little tougher to attach. It takes a little bit more effort. So you just kind of feel around. If it doesn't feel like it's clicking, don't force it, because if you do, you'll bend the contacts and then the phone will become useless. Okay, there's 2. And now this third one, this is the one that's a little bit more difficult. You got to kind of play with it to get it in there just right. Okay. After this, we're going to go and attach the EMI shield that goes over it. Again, there's 3 screws on that EMI shield. And there's clips on the left-hand side of it. So make sure those clips sit down properly. Over on that left side right there, you got to get it to kind of clip down. And then once it's clipped down, then you can screw it in. And it's 3 screws. Go ahead and put these in at high speed here. And then after this, you're going to put the screen down. Now, the screen does not like the iPhone 4 screen where it has screws that hold it in from the side. It only has the 2 screws on the bottom, so it's pressure fit around the sides. Be careful pushing it down that you don't, reef on it too hard on one side, because if you do, you will snap the screen. So what I do here is I lay it down, make sure that it's seated in from the bottom okay, and then start pressing it around the sides. And again, not a lot of pressure, but enough to get it to seat. Just go nice and slow and easy on it, and you'll get it to sit down there properly. After that, all you have are your 2 bottom screws, and you have now fixed an iPhone 5. So much easier than the iPhone 4. And again, hopefully parts will be available very soon for it. Thanks for watching Yakety Yak Wireless's video, and have a good day.